Two young children are dead after a minivan crashed last night in North Las Vegas. It happened just after 9 p.m. near Lone Mountain and Camino al Norte. North Las Vegas police say the driver of the van sideswiped trees, a light pole, and a wall before crashing head-on into a palm tree. Police say neither of the two young children inside the minivan were properly buckled up. One of the children died at the scene. The other child died at the hospital. The driver and other adult passenger, both women, are in serious condition. Police believe speed and impairment are factors in this crash.
Well,